In this video, I'm going to share all the ways that I brought my wedding photo business from part-time to full-time, from about $50,000 a year to 6 figures a year. We have 3 chapters today. Chapter 1, we're going to be talking about the technical parts of your business, so gear and software that you'll need. Chapter 2, we're going to talk about the business side, how to incorporate, and the marketing that you can engage in to get to that full-time position. And lastly, chapter 3, we're going to talk about philosophy and how that could be the driving factor of you going full-time and staying full-time. If you have a photography business already, I assume you probably already have a camera, but I would recommend trying to get your hands on 2, just in case that lead camera breaks down. I currently shoot on a Canon R5, and I've been building into the system for about a year now. My backup camera is a 5D Mark II, but I'm looking to upgrade that backup camera to an R6.
It's a 5D Mark IV.
Did I say 5D Mark II?
Yes.
What year is it? If you don't have it in your budget to have a second camera that you own, I would highly recommend renting a second camera whenever you shoot a wedding to at least have a second camera on hand. You never want to put yourself in a situation where you have to shoot iPhone portrait mode. If you're going to invest in a digital camera system that you own, I would highly recommend making sure that camera has 2 memory card slots so you have redundant recording while you photograph weddings. Bonus, make sure that those cards have a fast enough read-write speed for the camera that you're using. The R5 needs really fast cards. Most people get away with 170 megabytes per second on those cards, but I would highly recommend if you're on the R5 system, you should probably just invest in 300 megabytes per second. Now, whatever camera you're using, just make sure you do your research and look up online what cards you should be using for your camera. Choice of lens is a big factor in what you're shooting. A lot of photographers like to use prime lenses who are more in like the vibey creative space that I'm in and genre of wedding photography. But there are a lot of benefits to having a zoom lens as well. This one's a 15 to 35 and this one's a 50mm prime. You can get different benefits with both. The prime will give you the option to open up to wider apertures to give you more of that sweet bokeh for portraits. And a zoom lens will give you the ability to stand in one place and get different looks in that same place without moving. Neither are right or wrong, you just gotta figure out what's right for you, and a really good way to do that is to rent lenses before you buy them. External lighting, get to know it, because marketing as a natural light photographer can only get you so far. In darker scenarios, I use a Canon Speedlight to bounce off of walls and ceilings, as well as using it for direct flash on the dance floor. At receptions, I use constant lights, put them up in the corners of receptions, and use it to light my scene, to see my subjects, and to get the beautiful glow you get from these things. The truth is, gear actually does matter. You know, a lot of people say that it doesn't matter because you're just going to use whatever you have at your disposal to be as creative as you can. And while that sentiment is nice and all, a DSLR that you buy from Best Buy with a kit lens is not going to look the same as a full frame digital body and a prime lens for portraits. Use a lot of the bookings that you're getting in the beginning and in the middle to invest right back into that gear so that you can build your own arsenal so you don't have to keep renting. All that overhead will go away and then you can just start profiting on all your jobs from there on out. Something I like to do at weddings is bring this Fujifilm Instax wide camera, shoot instant frames throughout the day, and drop it on my couple's tables at the reception to surprise them. I also love in my personal life shooting 35mm film and 120 film. This really just fuels my passion for photography, and I like bringing these cameras every once in a while to weddings to just give a different aesthetic and to excite my couples, telling them that I'm shooting film instead of digital. You also don't have to buy multi-$1,000 film cameras. You could just buy a point and shoot and it will look really cool too. Software, make sure you understand Lightroom or Capture One, whichever one you use, like it's the back of your hand. Learn as many shortcuts as you can so you can speed up your workflow and increase the productivity of how long it takes you to edit an entire gallery. For example, R for crop, D for develop mode, G for library mode, just burned into your brain after a while. Learn how to batch edit in gallery mode, apply presets within library mode, and make your tweaks through a multitude of photos that are in the same scene. And then go to develop and start tweaking to your liking. Get to know what metadata is, how to separate cameras based on time, camera serial number, or a multitude of other things. You may already use presets, but don't just go burning through tons of different packs of presets trying to find your style. Learn how to edit in develop mode and choose a preset pack if you use them that is timeless and is going to last over a handful of seasons in your work. Finally, deliver your photos through a gallery delivery service. I use PicTime and they really help me get a ton of automated print sales. Pays for itself and makes you passive income. Bonus tip, if you use Lightroom, whenever you import your photos in gallery mode, make sure you use the embedded in sidecar preset upon import so that you can fly through those photos, culling and selecting them for editing later. You can also make smart previews with your photos so you don't have to have the original files from the source from a hard drive, but you always have to make sure you reconnect that drive when you export those photos. And on to chapter 2, business and marketing. This isn't financial advice, but you might want to consider incorporating your business, going from a sole proprietorship or hobby to an S Corp or an LLC. I would also recommend that you talk to or hire a CPA, a certified public accountant, to figure out which one is going to work best for you and your business. It could surprise you how much you're going to save in taxes by incorporating that business. And don't be too stingy about that CPA hiring that person, because it might feel like a lot of money to spend monthly or yearly on hiring that person as your accountant, but they might save you more money than the money you're spending on hiring them. I don't recommend this for everyone, but you might want to consider advertising your company on Wedding Wire or The Knot or any kind of wedding online business that promotes wedding photographers. Usually when you have an established enough business, you're not going to find a ton of success on websites like this, because it's really kind of built for that person who's trying to explode their business in a certain area. You could really leverage becoming someone that's really highly recommended on one of these sites in your local area if you go at it hard enough. A lot of these places, your yearly subscription, if you just book one more wedding, it pays for itself. Consider running ads on social media that are engaging and get good click-through rates. Honestly, just doing it in an organic, natural way through Instagram Reels or TikTok even. If you're going to do ads on social media like Instagram and Facebook, you really need to do your research on figuring out what your target audience is and that you are spending your ad dollars in the best way possible. I don't do that for my business. I never did do that for my business, but I know a lot of people who had a ton of success in targeting ads to a specific crowd on Instagram and Facebook. But let me dig into that untraditional marketing real quick, because that's what I talk about a lot on this channel and whenever I teach about wedding photography. Think about how you can hack the system in your favor. A lot of people don't want to take a huge pay cut or shoot for free whenever they get an opportunity to do something cool, because they're just like, no, I'm worth this much money and I don't need to not make that paycheck. So instead, when you're given a really cool opportunity like I was with my friends Amber and David, when they said, hey, Eric, we want to do 1-year anniversary pictures because our photographer didn't really get portraits of us on our wedding day, I went, that sounds great. You guys are awesome. I filmed your wedding. You're really cool people. You like a lot of the same things I like. What if we went somewhere really cool and just had a really fun time and got some awesome portraits in a place you've always wanted to go? So they're like, that sounds great. We've never really been to LA. Can we go? I said, yeah, we can. How about Malibu? And so we booked an Airbnb in an Airstream on a hill, and it was glorious. I didn't make any money on that trip, but that is still a staple portfolio piece on my website and has gotten me countless work and attention from potential clients. When I look at that, I go, I prefer spending my advertising money that way as opposed to just targeted Facebook ads. And while a ton of this information might have already been incredibly helpful, I want to transition into a segment that I care about most, and that's my philosophy. I'm an old man now. I have a nice haircut so you can't see all the gray hairs, but I've been around the block a few times. You're destined for burnout in this business if you don't have a strong philosophy as the foundation. A lot of people get lost in the redundancy of wedding photography and portrait photography, feeling like it's the same thing over and over every weekend, every week of their life, every time they sit down to the computer to edit. And I think so many people are trying to find things to like get that same sort of feeling and that spark they had in the beginning when they fell in love with photography. While it might be really beneficial to do that with things like film photography or getting a small little mirrorless camera for your personal life, I think the bedrock of making it sustainable for yourself is going to be developing that philosophy and having a core philosophy for every time you step into shooting a wedding. Take time to think about this. A lot of people get into wedding photography because of the frills and the thrills and traveling and all the cool stuff that happens and the money that you can make. But if you're not thinking about what you're doing for your clients and the service that you are giving to them, I would challenge you to stop and think about what it means to step into a wedding day and to be that person that is doing that for these people. Setting your own artistic endeavors aside and figuring out what's the best way that I can give them an experience and a product that is going to give a lasting impression, leave a lasting impression with them. I photograph weddings. If you're listening to this, you might photograph weddings as well, and weddings involve people, and people don't last forever. So some of these photographs that you could be taking could be the last photographs of the people in front of your camera. Stop and think about that. Stop and think about the weight and the impact of what that could mean to your clients and their families, instead of what your next Instagram post is going to be. So a fun little story about something that happened recently this year. I shot an elopement for my clients, Ivy and Messiah. They had a small little courthouse elopement. It was just super fun and intimate, and these two are very much like me, introverted in nature, not really wanting to do anything super extravagant. I followed them around the city and we took portraits and we got coffee at Blue Bottle and just ran around in the rain. They didn't let the rain get to them. They just embraced it, which was super fun. At one point, I busted out a bottle of champagne I had thought prior to the wedding day It'd be really fun to just surprise them with this little thing, plastic cups, bottle of champagne. They were super excited when they saw it. They poured it, they drank it, they celebrated, they cheersed, all that good stuff. And we ended at North Avenue Beach with some music and my Bluetooth speaker and dancing in the rain. And it was just incredibly special and just felt like we were kind of living in a movie. When we went back to the car and I drove them back to their destination, we were getting all of their stuff out of the back of my trunk, and Ivy looked at the champagne bottle and she said, "Hey, do you mind if I can keep that?" I said, "Absolutely, go for it." And she held it in her hands and looked at me and said, "This is gonna live in our house for the rest of our lives, and it's gonna live up on a shelf." And it just blew me away that one little small gesture of just buying a bottle of champagne for a couple could mean something that was a memory for them for so long. And it's outside of even the photographs I took of them drinking it or the little vignette I then photographed of her holding the bottle. That is an artifact that will live with them for the rest of their lives. And those kinds of small things can be so impactful on a day that is one of the most important days in people's lives. And you could be the person to have that kind of impact on someone for the rest of their lives. I did make this video in the middle of my launch week for my course, The Classroom, where I talk about this in detail, about serving your clients and giving them the experience that they deserve. The whole course is everything you need to know about getting to that six-figure mark, making a sustainable business. Basically, everything I talked about in this video expanded on. And it is only available until Monday, July 25th. So if you're watching this within that time frame and you're interested, please at least go check out the free module where I have a 2-hour section about client experience. And also don't feel the pressure to have to buy something like that if you feel like it's not the move for you right now. I want to make sure that if you're investing in yourself in this way right now, there's purpose behind it and you feel like what I've shared here in this video or what I've shared over the years if you followed me here on YouTube, it's something that you feel like you're investing in for yourself for the future and making something sustainable for yourself. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. And thanks for the continued support always on this platform. I really appreciate you guys. I love you. And I just want to thank you for giving me the ability to make this my career in teaching you this stuff as well. So catch you soon. Bye.